All right, everyone, here we are again. We're still working on that section 4.4. Lots of good review in this section and some good practice in graphing and finding the solution to our systems of equations. So again, remember, systems of equations are going to be two equations that we graph simultaneously, and the point where they cross is where our solution is. So let's get started here. We have two equations. Both of these equations are written in that standard form. So remember, when we graph in standard form, we're going to go ahead and find what our x and y intercepts are. So let's start off with our first one. So we have negative x plus y equals 3. And I want to find my x-intercept. And then I'm also going to find my y-intercept. Okay, so first off, when we find that x-intercept, we're going to take y, or 0, and we're going to plug that 0 in for y. So when we plug 0 in for y, well, 0 is nothing when we're adding it. So what that's going to make is that's going to just make all of that disappear. And now we have negative x equals 3. All right, so we have negative x. We have not solved for x yet, but remember our opposites. If we take the opposite of negative x, we get x, and that's exactly what I want to solve for. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So if I took the opposite of negative x, I also have to take the opposite of 3, and the opposite of 3 is negative 3. So for my x-intercept, we're going to put a negative 3 in there for that part. Okay, now let's go on to our next one. Now we have negative x, starting back at our original equation, negative x equals 3. And now I want to take the 0 and I want to plug that 0 in for y, or x this time, sorry. Plugging 0 in for x. So negative 0 is still going to be nothing. So we end up with y equals 3. So that one was fairly easy. Now all we have to do is go ahead and graph both of these. So negative 3, 0. That is negative 3 in the x column. So making sure we get the right axis, we're going to put negative 3 on the x-axis. And then we are going to put positive 3 on the y-axis. And then we're ready to draw our line. Okay, and then we are moving on to our next one. So let's get a big eraser in here and erase all of this. Nicely done. All right, then our next one, we have 3x minus 2y equals negative 10. And again, we want to find that x-intercept and that y-intercept. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to write. All right. We want it to be a line. There we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is take the 0 in the y position, and we are going to plug it in for y. So what happens when we plug that in for y? All of this right here is going to be 0, which means it's nothing. So we end up with 3x equals negative 10, and we have x equals negative 10/3. Okay. So negative 10/3. Then we're going to go back, start with our original equation, 3x minus 2y equals negative 10. And we're going to take the 0 and we are going to plug it in for x this time. So when we plug that in, we're going to get 3 times 0 is 0. Again, all of this is just going to be nothing. And we have negative 2y equals negative 10. All right, so how do we solve for y? We want to do the opposite. This negative 2 is being multiplied to y, so we're going to do the opposite of the operation, which is multiplication and division. Then we need to divide both sides by negative 2. So remember, we only want to do one opposite thing, and we're going to do the opposite as division. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 10. Now what do we have over here? We've got 2 negatives. So when we have two negatives and we're dividing, those negatives are going to cancel each other out and become positive. And then 10 divided by 2 is, you got it, 5. And then over here, our -2 and our -2 cancel, and we are left with y. So we have y equals 5, and there's our 2 points. So for my x, I have -10/3. You can go ahead and do that on a calculator, but you should end up with -3 1/3. I'm not doing this on the MyOpenMath, so I'm hoping that that will snap to the correct places that'll let you go by a third. So -3 1/3 is going to be about right here. That's for our x value. And then our y value is y equals 5. Sorry. Okay, so looking at this, it is looking like our solution is going to be at -4, -1 will be our answer for that one. And hopefully when you are doing that on the MyOpenMath, it'll look a little bit better for you. Okay, and that's all we've got for that one. Let's move on to number 20. Oh, I forgot to tell you which question I was on. I'm sorry. This was number 19. So that's where we left off on our last video. We did through 18, the first video. Did we get through 12, I think? Actually, I think we got through 14. And then second video is 15 through 18. Now we are on to number 19, and I'm going to pause for a second, bring up 20, and I'll be right back. Okay, this is number 20, and what we have here are two parallel lines. So what happens when we have parallel lines? Well, do they ever cross? No, they're like railroad tracks. They go on and on and on forever, and they never cross. So what we're going to say about this one here is that there is no solution. Because remember, the solution of a system of equations is when the lines cross. So if the lines never cross, there will never be a solution. So there we go. And then let's move on to the next one. So on to 21 now. Okay, 21 is back to graphing. Okay, so we have y equals -2x minus 4. So when we graph that one, we're going to start at -4 is going to be our starting point. And then we're going to count down 2 and over 1 for our slope. Oops, I did not. There we go. Okay, so for your first one, we have y equals -2x minus 4. Our starting point is always this one right here. Remember, we start on the y-axis, or this up-down axis right here. So start at -4, and then our slope, you can make that over 1. So now I'm not in my program that I can write it. Now I'm actually on the MyOpenMath program so that I could graph a good line. But if I was able to write something on here, I would put this -2 over 1. Then remember, we have to use that negative somewhere. So I'm going to go down 2, and then to the right 1. Then always double check that slope. Make sure it's negative. If you were walking on this graph starting on the left-hand side, we would be going downhill. So I know that that is a negative slope. Okay, our next one. Let me see. I think I can pull up my writing program real quick. Here we go. Okay, so now I have 2x plus 4y equals 8. Now what we want to do with this one is we want to find our x and y intercept again. Okay, so on the first part, we're going to plug in a 0 for y. This is in the y position. We're going to bring it over here and plug it in for y. 4 times 0 is 0, so that makes all of this disappear. It's all gone. And now we have 2x equals 8. Okay, divide both sides by 2, and we have x equals 4. Okay, so go back up here, put a 4 in there for that intercept, and now I'm going to find my second intercept. So I'm going to start over again with my original equation. So I have 2x plus 4y equals 8, and now I'm going to plug a 0 in for x. So when I plug that 0 in for x, all of that is gone. And we end up with 4y equals 8. Divide both sides by 4. And we have y equals 2. So now, let's go back to my open math. And I want to graph that. And now it's gone. What were they? I had 4 for the y, right? I gotta go back. And, oh no, shoot. It was 4 for the x and 2 for the y. All right. 4 for my x and 2 for my y. Very good. And so that makes my point, my solution, to be the point -4, 4. Yay, we got it. All right, on to our next one. Okay, I skipped ahead a couple. We are now on 23. So we are going to graph these. These are both in point slope form, so easy ones to graph. I'm going to start off with this top one. Where do we start? We start at -5 on the y-axis, so put a point there. And then remember what we do if we have just an x. There's no number in front of that x variable. So what can we write in there? We can write in a 1. Oops, I didn't clear my screen from last one, did I? There we go. I can write in a 1 over 1. So we still have that slope, but it really hasn't changed anything. Okay, so now we're at -5, and then we're going to go up 1 to the right 1 because it's positive, and that is a positive slope, so we're good. Okay, and then now our next line, we're going to start at +7 this time. Again, always starting on this y-axis. And then from 7, our slope is our directions. So it tells me -2, I can make that -2 over 1, so I'm going to go down 2 over 1, and that's always starting from our starting point. Okay, and this one asks me to place a dot at the solution. So I came down here, I'm going to choose my dot and then put it in there, and then that's all I've got to do for that one. And it skipped it for me. All right, we are on to number 24 now. So for this one, we're going to start at 3.5. So let's see if it'll let me do a half mark right here. All right, now I need to go down 3, or up 3, sorry, up 3. And so I got to count by halves. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and then to the right 2. So notice how that whole time I'm actually staying in that half mark. So make sure you're counting by the halves to get that whole 3 over 2. Okay, then we have 4 is our next starting point for our second graph. So we're going to start at 4. And our slope is 2. We can make that 2 over 1. So that's going to be a rise of 2 and a run of 1. Okay, and then this one wants me again to put that dot at the mark right here. Okay, I need to get my emails to quit coming up on my screen, don't I? And then that's my solution for that one, and I'm good. Let me see if I can submit it. Yeah, nice. Okay, next we are going on to number 25. I'm going to skip that one. Make sure you put your slope as a fraction. Make sure you know what your starting point is. You can rewatch these videos as many times as you need to. All right, we've done lots of those. All right, so we've got the graphs shown here, the solution to the system of the equations. All we have to do is put in that point. So our x value is -2 and our y value is +2. All right, and that's all we needed to do for that one. Okay, 27, 28. Again, just plugging in the points. The point I see there that's going to be a solution is -4, 3. So these ones are actually kind of going back to those easier ones. I have about 10 seconds. This video might cut off on me. Just kind of want to get through as many of these as I can. Okay, so